Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Gordo, and today we're going to be doing JLPT. What does that stand for, actually? Japanese Language Proficiency Test. 日本語能力試験. I'm going to start at N5 and go all the way up to N1, just doing a couple of sample questions each time. In the past, I originally got N2 and then I passed N1 as well of the JLPT. So I'm not actually sure what the lower levels, what their level is. So a bit for my own sake as well. I want to just have a look and see what level, like N5, N4, and N3, what's the difference between those three, especially. And I also just want to be clear, JLPT is not a good test. It's not good at determining whether you're good at Japanese or not. And it's not a well-written test. And the texts, especially in N2 and N1, the sample text that you read and answer comprehension questions about, those texts are not well written either, a lot of the time. Sometimes they have good text, but a lot of it's outdated, or it's text, it's a passage that is intentionally hard to understand. Like the intention of the person that wrote it was to make it confusing, which is not good Japanese. So if you do fail any level of the JLPT, don't worry too much. The JLPT is just a necessary thing that you have to do and go through, but it really doesn't determine how good you are. On the other hand, I've met people that have passed N1 and they can't speak Japanese. They're not good. Some people are just good at studying and passing tests, you know, deciding, especially with multiple choice exams. They're just good at deciding, oh, I think it will be this one. So let's get into it. N5. I'm actually curious. Are the questions in English in N5 or something? How do they even understand the questions? Because it's meant to be really basic, isn't it? Okay, it's in Japanese. んの言葉はひらがなでどう書きますか ?1234 から一番いいものを新しい車ですね。So even these, so obviously the answer is this one, 新しい. But even these kind of questions, when you're rushing and you're nervous about a test, people could like read it wrong. Like ra and ta, they've intentionally made them like put similar characters in. But anyway, 新しい。正解です。よくできました。あのホテルは有名です。So again, it's just katakana, but it's simple mistakes that people could make if they're nervous, you know. But learn your katakana. ここはんです。過去に何を入れますか ?1234 から一番いいものを一つ選んでください。ここはんです。勉強できません。Okay, so obviously it's noisy, so you say うるさい。This is a good question, I think. It's fine. Being able to read a situation and decide which words are best are good questions, I think. 線の文と大体同じ意味の文があります。1234から一番いいものを一つ選んでください。私はデパートに勤めています。So yeah, I think this is an okay question. 私はデパートで買い物 No. 散歩 No. 仕事 Yes. 勤める is to work at somewhere. So 仕事 is the right answer here. So you choose particles are hard as well. Which particle to put in. The thing with Japanese particles is that the meaning of what you're saying changes completely if you get it wrong. 弟は部屋 So the hair, some people might think you put o in here. 部屋を掃除しました. But what happens here is normally how Japanese people would say 部屋の掃除. So the 部屋の掃除, all of it kind of becomes a noun together. We did that noun. So it's no. But a lot of people would say, you could say 部屋を掃除しました. You could say that as well. And here we have it. These questions, a lot of Japanese people will get wrong as well, especially if you put a time limit on them. Again, JLPT is not a well-written exam. But anyway, so you've got ga, de, totta, and umi, and you've got to arrange them here into the right order. And then 1, 2, 3, the one that has the star on it, you got to put that number as the answer. It's ridiculous. Obviously, there's a benefit to being able to put these sentences together with these words, but this is not about language, but about people who are good at rearranging things in their head quickly. So it's a different skill. It's not a language skill. Also, there's so many mistakes that you can do here that are not related to language. You can get the number wrong, or you can kind of mix up which one you thought the star one was wrong. Like in a limited time, you could easily mix up which one is the star. You could accidentally write 2, even though you knew it was 3, just because you're trying to rush and you got to go on to the next bit of paper and color it in. So many things that can go wrong here. これは去年私何々何々写真です。So これは去年私 is probably going to be が私が海で撮った。So the answer is number 2. But even if you know the answer, even if you know the order to put it in, when you're trying to think in your head which one it is, you can get wrong as well, but it's there. It's confusing stuff. And here we go. We've got a long text that you have to read as fast as you can and then answer the question. So you got to read the text, and then you got this red square here that you have to put in what the person would say in the text. So you have to understand what they're trying to say first. 寂しい is lonely, or like you miss someone. So 寂しくありません。寂しくありませんでした。寂しくありませんか？Question. 寂しくありませんでしたか? So present tense or past tense, whether you're saying it or whether you're asking the question is kind of... So you just 皆さんこんにちは、ヤンです。私は日本語学校で毎日勉強しています。今は学校の近くに姉と住んでいます。姉がいるから寂しくありません。Okay, so it was a bit... So in this text, it was quite obvious, but being able to just read that little bit and get the answer in like 5 seconds, that ability will help you in any level of the JLPT test. And as I said, it's not a language skill. Obviously, being able to understand all the Japanese helps, but being able to, it's a reading comprehension skill more than a language skill. And even in your own language, even in English, in high school when we read a text and we had to answer questions about it. Some people were just not good at it. Doesn't mean their English was bad. It means their reading comprehension wasn't as good as other people. So that was N5. N5 was harder than I thought it would be, actually. You need a basic understanding of all the words and the verbs and the present, future, past tense. So yeah, harder than I thought. So let's see how different N4 is. Let's go. So the same thing again, it starts reading the kanji. We've got a bit more kanji here. We've got kaisha and we've got kayo. 兄はバスで会社に通っています。So people might get 向かって wrong with this, or 渡って or 戻って. All of these verbs are about moving somewhere in any direction. All of these verbs are about moving. So the thing is, they're just trying to trick you rather than test you. Anyway, 通って. Let's go. 船で荷物を送ります。So the word for send. So this kanji is the word for 逆, opposite. But you can see how similar it is to this. And you're not going to come across a situation in Japan where you have to choose between these two. Like, you know what I mean? See, a lot of people might get that wrong. But if they came into a situation where they needed to use the kanji okuru, or they had to read it, they would be able to read it. But they could get it wrong here. So within this test, it's saying that they can't read it, but in a real life situation, they might get by, easily. スーパーでもらった何々を見ると何を買ったかわかります。スーパーでもらった Okay, so something that you received at the supermarket, if you look at it, you know what you got. So this is convenient Japanese. レシート is the answer. So you look at the receipt and you know what you got. So reji is, if these questions also you have an advantage if you're an English speaker. Reshito is, bruh, I know what it is, Otsuri is change, cipher is your wallet. Okay. パスポート番号を知らせてください. So that's someone saying, tell me what your passport number is. So this question is choose something that has the same meaning. So 知らせて is to show, is to tell me, and you should know in Japanese. 教えて also means teach, but also to tell. So パスポートの番号を教えてください. 決めて、直して、写して. This isn't these other sentences aren't that similar, so it's not too tricky, I don't think. 次の言葉をの使い方で一番いいものを1、2、3、4から一つ選んでください。So you've got the word 住所 which is for your address, and you got to choose how to use it. 図書館の隣の住所は郵便局です。That doesn't sound right. But the thing I don't like about these kind of questions is to get the correct Japanese, you have to read 3 other sentences of incorrect Japanese. So if you're studying with stuff like this, 3 out of 4 times you're inputting incorrect Japanese into your brain. So it can have a negative effect as well, you know. Rather than having real life Japanese experience or studying another way, when you look at a question like this, you can't explain grammatically why something would be right or wrong, but it's just the feeling, which is how anyone learns their native language. So, 明日の会議の住所は5階です。So again, they're trying to be tricky here. Like, 住所 is an address, so you might think, well, if you're telling someone the place to go, you know, level 5 could be the address of it. You know, you could have level 5 in an address. So it's a bit confusing like this. ここにあなたのうちの住所を書いてください. So this will be the answer. So please here write your address. 私に E メールの住所を教えてください. So yeah, this is also confusing. People might think you can use the word address for email address, which you do in English, but not so much in Japanese. So you got number 3. Here we go, finding the right Japanese to put in the brackets there. 私の消しゴム見ませんでしたか？あ、机の下に落ちていません。落ちません。落ちます。落ちています。If the question was slightly different, this could be the answer. 落ちていません。If I asked, 私の消しゴムは机の下に落ちた？落ちましたか？ If I asked that, you could say, 机の下に落ちていません。So that's a little bit confusing, but yeah, 落ちていますよ。So you're telling someone that the rubber has fallen under the table. Here we go, these dumb questions where you have to line them all up correctly. Yamada-san wa this. Not much context here, but they're using they're using the grammar she, which is when you're listing multiple things that someone has or can do or anything. Yamada-san wa ギターも弾けるし、歌も上手です。So, the star one will be number 3. Again, people can get this wrong easily without knowing, just because they're trying to rush through the test. Okay, so here we've got some longer text. It looks like a letter. And so it's the same thing. Choose which particle goes into this red box here. So it looks like we've got a lot of kanji here, but they do write it for you. So I guess N4 is still not that kanji focused. So let's see if I can solve it just starting from here. でも今のアパート何々大学まで歩いて10分ぐらいです。でも今のアパートは大学まで歩いて10分ぐらいです。So you put in wa. People might think you could choose ga maybe. But if you think about it, this can't be solved just by this sentence because it could be more. If he's talking about the distance of something from his house in the previous sentence, then this bit will change as well. And then after that, you've got the rest of this text that you don't need to read, you know, like the answers you'd find here. So let's go from the start. 私は先週大学の近くに引っ越しをしました。前はアパートから大学まで電車とバスで1時間半ぐらいかかりました。でも、今のアパートは so it is wa. So it's not more. If you're saying here, until the convenience store, it takes 10 minutes. And also, to the university, it also takes 10 minutes. You could put more in there, but this time it's wa. So I have done N2 before, and at the time it was difficult for me to pass. So it'll be interesting to see how close N3 is. I think when we get to N3, it's suddenly going to be a lot of kanji. Yeah, all of a sudden we've got daihyo, which is a lot harder kanji. But they've still got erabareta is written in the hiragana above, which is nice. クラスの代表 So yeah, see look, 代表, 代表, 代表. So yeah, so no u on the end here, 代表, 代表. So they're all similar. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, even if you said any of these, you're close, you know? 困っている時に先生に助けていただきました。So 助けて, so you've got kanji with similar meanings like 守って. I'm not sure how to read this one. So this is another thing I don't like the JLPT. I just looked up on my dictionary. I was like, I don't know these verbs. And I looked it up on the dictionary and nothing came up. So these verbs don't exist. You know, so they're making you look at Japanese that doesn't exist, you know, in order to test how good you are. So yeah, 助けて is this one. So in these brackets, 寝たので気持ちがいい. So you just have to know this one. ぐっすり寝た。次々に新しいゲームが作られる。So you got to put in something, similar meaning. だんだん、いつでも、どんどん、これから。So 次々 is like one after another. If I'm, to be honest, だんだん or どんどん could either, だんだんどんどん, either of them could be the answer. I would probably go with どんどん because it infers a higher rate of production. So if you're trying to get across that a lot of games are being made, but dandan is also fine here. So if I click dandan, you would just lose a point here, you know, but dandan 新しいゲームが作られる. It can be used. The meaning is slightly different, but it can be used. So this, see, I don't. Well, I'm just this is turning into a video where I just complain about JLPT. So next question, got to choose which is the closest meaning. So again, you have to look at 4 different bits of Japanese that are incorrect Japanese. So you have that incorrect input going into your brain, which I don't like. それでは今頃テスト始めます. No, that's incorrect. 今頃 is like when you're thinking about around this time something else might be happening, like something outside of you, something might be happening. It's kind of how you use it. 今頃東京では桜が咲いてるでしょう. So this sounds like a correct meaning. So around about this time, the sakura will be in full bloom in Tokyo. 今頃現金で支払うことが少なくなった. So it's kind of similar, but it just doesn't feel right. 今頃雨が降りそうな天気. So 今頃 mainly how you use it is somewhere where you're not. So if I'm in Australia and it's, you know, summer in Japan, I could say around about this time, 今頃, it's summer in Japan. 母の方は気が長い. So you're comparing things here. So 対して is what you use to compare things. You can kind of use おいて here, I think. But it is obvious that it's 対して within this kind of question. 先週何々何々から行ってみませんか? ばっかりのレストランがオープンしたある. ある is probably going to become before から. 何々あるから行きませんか? So you're down to these 3 for these spots. 先週オープンしたばっかりのレストランがあるから行ってみませんか? So this is a bit more advanced Japanese. So オープンしたばっかり, all of that is describing the restaurant. And then at the end, this restaurant exists when you say ある. And then から because of that, won't you go with me? 先週オープンしたばかりのレストラン. So the third one is this one. Okay, so here we've got some text. So already this looks a lot harder than N2. So there's quite a big jump, I think, but I still think there's a bigger jump from N3 to N2. From memory. Maybe if I try it now, it'll be easier. I don't know. We'll see. We'll go to N2 today. So it's the same thing. You got to choose which Japanese goes into this red box. And again, I don't want to have to read all this, so we're going to see how quickly we can do it with just this, with the sentence before it. しかし、山の上に着いて朝日を見たら、それまでの疲れが消えてしまいました。突然、目の前に広がる雲の 間から朝日が現れたのです。So, can I go, whoops. So I didn't even look at the rest of the answers here, or did I read any of this? This is just a question of tense. And so it's the person that wrote the letter is speaking in the past about their experience. And 現れた is past tense. And no des is just there to kind of make it more polite, add des on everything. So let's try just this bit. 目の前に広がる雲の間から朝日が現れるはずです。So this will be if you're telling someone about what the experience might be in the future. 現れたのでしょう. So this is kind of when you're asking someone or inferring to someone, this is what happened, isn't it? 現れるはずでした. So this is where you're talking to someone else, the experience someone else had, and you're saying, I expect that you were able to see the asahi come up from the clouds. So all of these could be correct if the rest of the text was correct, but so technically you need a little more than just this line to understand the answer. If you go back a bit further, それまでの疲れが消えてしまいました. Here you can tell what tense it is. それまでの疲れが消えてしまいました. So they're talking in the past tense about their experience. 目の前に広がる雲の間から朝日が現れたのです. Okay, so you needed the extra sentence before to be completely sure. Okay. N2, level up. So N2, I passed it. So N2, I passed this test in the past, but that was a while ago. So I'll see how different it feels. But I feel like it will be quite a jump up from N3. この黒い種からどんな花が咲くのだろうか. So yeah, you just have to be able to read this kanji. But the thing is, even if you can't read the kanji, you've got like what flower will bloom from this. So it's a seed then. 今日はゴミの収集日ですか? So this is actually, so a question like this, I don't actually know the kanji. But when I look down here, I'm like, yeah, it's this one. But if someone just said shushu and they told me to write that kanji, I probably wouldn't be able to write it. This is another thing. You just have to know the kanji, but also people might pick this because toru is to pick up, They could think this means to pick up they could think that this means to pick up the garbage, so they could choose this. So it's not a good question, it's a trick question. あの映画は最後は何々場面として知られている。あの映画の最後は名場面。So a famous scene. This is kind of tricky as well, unless you know what kind of Japanese is used regularly. 日本人の平均何々は男性が79歳、女性が89歳である。So we're talking about life expectancy. Obviously, you can tell that easily by the question. Seimei is life, jinsei is someone's life, issho is your whole life, and jumyo is your life expectancy. So all similar words, just another tricky question. Come on. Tanaka-san wa tan naru yujin desu. Tanaka-san is just a friend. Oh, okay. So someone's being suspected of maybe dating Tanaka-san. You're like, no, it's just a friend. So tan naru just means simply, that's it. And tadano obviously is similar. So if you're looking at friend, people might think, oh, taisetsu, that's an important friend to me or something. But yes, tadano. A little bit tricky, but it's okay. So we've got a word here, which is yoke. It looks a little bit kaike, which is to get the bill. So a little bit confusing maybe to some people. So yoke is, I don't even know how to say it in English, too much. Unnecessary. 一人暮らしだと野菜がすぐ余計になってしまう. This you can understand what they're saying, but it is kind of the wrong nuance. 話が複雑になるから余計なことは言わないで. So this is obviously, I can tell this is the answer without looking at the rest. 話が複雑になる. So the conversation or your story will get too complicated So don't say anything unnecessary to the story. 余計があったら so you don't use this 余計があったら I can already tell you don't use 余計 in this way at all. And この頃仕事が忙しくて遊びに行く余計がない。So because the first part of 余計 is for like 余る for like to have like enough time or extra time or something. So it could be confusing. But yeah, so this one. Anyway, 最終のバスに間に合わなくて困っていた。何々運よくタクシーが通りかかり、無事自宅でした。So obviously this person has enough money to just get on a taxi whenever they want. That's a bit weird, but so the time when I wasn't in time for the bus, a taxi just happened to be there. Ageku is kind of a negative meaning. Totan is just as, because this is present tense, it's better to go tokoro. 困っていたところに運よくタクシーが通りかかり。田中選手が今シーズン何々何々のニュースを見て驚いた。So this kind of question, even Japanese people, some Japanese people would get wrong if they're under a time constraint. That trying to put it together, it's like what? So 田中選手が今シーズン活躍するのを楽しみに待っていた。So with these two, you can kind of already tell that it's number 3. But the dake ni is kind of more advanced Japanese. Dake ni kare no kega no news o mite odoroita. So the problem with this sentence is there's dissonance between the ending of kare no kega no news o mite odoroita. So it doesn't feel like the whole sentence keeps on flowing because you've kind of shortened saying what the news is about. So there is a little bit of dissonance there. Kare no kega, not news o mite odoroita. So because the information about what kind of news it is ends there, and then you just say not news, the grammar doesn't flow. So that's why a question like this is especially confusing. And having to do this under a time constraint. So here we go. We've got the text just gets longer and longer. So read this and choose which phrase goes into the red box. So same thing as before, you just drop down to where the red box is, and here we go. おもちゃというと、ただ子供が遊ぶためだけのものだと考えられつつあります。考えられがちです。考えられていません。考えられなければいけません。So, just reading that first sentence, I'm going to try and choose an answer, see if we're right or not. So, just reading this first sentence, so I've only read this first sentence here, and I'm going to choose an answer based on that, see if it's right or not. おもちゃというと、So when talking about toys, ただ子供が遊ぶためだけのものと、So people think, so he's trying to say people can think that it's just for kids to play, but I think the whole article might be about like we can have toys for adults, but that's quite kinky. I don't know what this article is about. We've got adult toys here apparently. ただ子供が遊ぶためだけのものだと、it could be about like toys that are not just for playing with, but also for making kids study or be smarter or something. I don't know. I'm not going to read the article. But even from that one sentence, you can already have an idea of what the whole thing's about. So, 考えられつつあります. So, people are continually thinking this. But because 遊ぶ, but the idea that toys are just for playing for kids, I don't think in any article they would say that more and more people are thinking this. So, 考えられがち, I think would probably be the answer because that's what a lot of people think. Currently, a lot of people still think that toys are just for kids to play with. So, 考えられていません. The negative tense doesn't really fit with this sentence. So, 考えられがち. So, yeah, that's correct. All you needed to read. So, look, you've got all this written here. All you need to read is this, and you know the right answer because of the way this is worded. ただ子供が遊ぶためだけのものだと you can't have a negative after that, really. And 考えつつあります is kind of like more and more people are thinking this, which doesn't really fit with the article as well, because the article might be saying that things are now changing now. The idea around what toys can do or be is changing. Very kinky. But yeah, 考えられがち. So yeah, just with this, like imagine how much time you can save just by reading that and getting the answer. Also, imagine how much time some people waste because they're just not good at picking out the part of the article that they need, which again is a comprehension ability. It's similar to language, but it's not just language ability that they're testing here, you know? And finally, let's go N1. Let's see how hard it is. So I did pass N1, but I didn't get a perfect score, I don't think, from memory. There was questions in there, I was like, So although I did pass, there still might be kanji that I don't understand or some stuff that I don't understand. But let's have a look. And also because it would take all day, I'm not doing all of the sample questions. But if you want me to go through all of these questions from any level, let me know down in the comments and I can sort it out. So let's have a look. N1, the big guns. N1, it's where the smart people are. 彼は今、新薬の研究開発に挑んでいる. So yeah, you just have to know these words really. 挑んでる. 私の主張は単なる. So he's saying, what I want to emphasize is not this, but 確たる証拠に基づいてる. So what I'm emphasizing is not based on, just a theory. It's based on evidence. So what's the opposite to 確たる証拠? So something, so yeah, a theory is probably the word you'd go. So 推測. So here people would kind of get confused between these two. You've got 試測 and 推測. 推測 is a word they use like detectives and police work, and it's like the answer is between these two, but they're similar meaning. They're both about like an idea that you have, but 推測 is like your conjecture or your theory, mostly used in like situations with like a detective or something. So that's the answer, but it's a trick question. Come on. このマニュアルの説明はややこしい. So you just have to know this. ややこしいis hard to understand. So 複雑, difficult. いたわる, I swear, is in every exam at the N1 level. いたわる is like to have sympathy for someone or think of yourself in their shoes or whatever. I don't care. I don't do that. But いたわる is, I feel like I always see it. 弱い立場の人をいたわるのは大切なことです. So straight away, without reading the rest, I would say this is the answer. So people in a weaker position than yourself, you need to understand them. Because it's sympathizing, 弱い立場. That kind of negative connotation of someone in a bad position or below you. That'll be the answer. But I understand easily how you could pick 2 or 4. Although the feeling isn't quite there, it's very similar. 今更後悔してみた何々してしまったことは取り返しがつかない. So no point. So it's a bit of a YOLO comment. No point feeling regret now because it's already done,今更後悔してみたところで is the answer without even looking at the rest. I feel like this is also an expression that would be used in drama or anime a lot. 何々したところで何々できない. Anyway, here we go. These crappy questions. 休みのなんちゃらなんちゃらなんちゃら実際にはなかなか実行できない。休みのたびに every time I have a day off, 休みのたびに今日こそ片付けようと clean up. So today I will clean up と思いながらも実際にはなかなか実行できない. So this is actually easier than the N2 one. So again, that goes to show that these questions aren't that effective at testing your level, but about how good you are at doing these puzzles. So 休みのたびに今日こそ片付けようと、片付けよう is the answer. So 片付けようと思いながらも So these 思いながらも probably comes after 片付け. So you know that. And then it's easy to piece the rest. If you can join two of them together, the other two are easy to find their spot. Here we go, another boring bit of 僕はプライベートというのは絶対勘だと思う。So it starts off with 僕, so it's someone probably just talking about their opinion or something, or this is what I think. So you got all these wordy words here. Let's look at the answers. 他人に言わせれば So if someone else says something, 僕に言わせれば if I was to say it, 他人に言わせれば is like if you ask someone else or what they would say. そうは言っても even if you say that, and そうは言うものの and then whatever comes after will kind of change this meaning a little bit. But anyway, let's see if we can solve it from what happens. Let's see if we can solve it from the text that just comes after. 弱い人間とか未熟な人間の方がはるかに膨れ上がる可能性を持っている。未熟というものは運命全体、世界全体を相手に戦う力というものを持っている。未熟というものは運命全体、世界全体を相手に戦う力というもの。So he's saying here, weak people or like inexperienced people 膨れ上がる可能性を持っている。So weak people, inexperienced people have potential. And that becomes the power with which they can use to fight like their destiny or the world or what's this guy going on about? Come on. Because this is the last bit of this passage, I think he's ending with what he thinks. So I think he'd be saying his opinion here. So if I was really rushed for time and I didn't want to read any of the other stuff, I just do this. And there it is. That's the right answer. So if you're able to gauge what the person that wrote this crappy piece of literature, if you're able to gauge what they're thinking, you can get the answer pretty easily. Like imagine how much time you can save in a test. All of that. I didn't read any of this. I just read what came after the red box here. 2 lines. 2 lines of Japanese, just read it. Yep, this one. You know. So there you have it, folks. Let me know if you want me to do more videos like this where I break down questions or whether I do a whole test of any level. Also, let me know in the comments what level you are and how you're studying and how's it going. Right here, guys. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.